Another aspect is that more firms are forcing practices to compete on price for the very first time. Coupled with the fact that legal services demand has been flat, law firms are undercutting each other more and more than ever before, and guess what? Customers and consumers know it. So, unlike some of the previously mentioned challenges, we are starting to see firms solve this problem. Instead of turning to increased revenue as a driver of business growth, they're finding new ways to increase margin on existing revenue streams. And how are they doing this? Technology and systemization, which I believe the next panel will discuss. So I will not go too much into. So now let's dive into marketing and sales, marketing and business development. So we have established that the world currently is facing an increasingly competitive business environment that, coupled with the and then you add COVID-19, this makes the situation not very ideal to do business, but we still do business. It is often at these times start thinking about revenue generation when times are tough and turning on the tap of marketing and BD activities. So come on guys, admit it. How many of us really have marketing, business development, and sales? We're getting business. Then once we hit a block, this is when we're like, okay, we need to now start thinking about business development and marketing and what can we do to like maybe bridge a revenue gap, etc. So it is this exact type of thinking that puts most law firms in the same generic, undifferentiated space. Marketing and business development are quite distinct concepts, although they are deeply intertwined. Marketing is not so much a series of initiatives, such as promotion, but I'm going to shock you all, it's a business philosophy that does what? That puts the client at the center of everything a firm does. It is a business process. It is a culture that recognizes that above all else, marketing is about the creation and the delivery of client value. The problem in law firms is that marketing is so poorly understood that it has become synonymous with business development and promotion, and hence most law firms believe it is something that just can be turned on and turned off when times are bad, when times are rough, when times are tough, instead of something that is basically at the core of the firm strategy. Marketing is not considered core to the function of the firm. Hence, it has been marginalized to the point where it is not even part of the strategy process. And the marketing people, you find yourself completely overwhelmed with essentially having day-to-day tactical initiatives that have very little to no impact on the firm. This creates a vicious cycle where in firm performance, which reinforces the belief that marketing is a back office function of little significance. And this reinforced belief is based on the narrow understanding these partners have, which is essentially marketing and business development are the same thing. So what is marketing? Marketing has the single largest impact. Do any marketing. We're not different from any other business that is out there. However, the marketing I'm talking about is not the one being used by the vast majority of law firms. I'm talking about the marketing culture. This is known as market orientation. This culture is essentially a business philosophy and business process that is about the organization-wide generation of market intelligence pertaining to current and future customer needs. I'll repeat that. The organization-wide generation of market intelligence pertaining to current and future customer needs. This definition highlights the key point that marketing is firm-wide. It is a management responsibility that is far too important to delegate to marketing people. I've had this experience over the years. I think we sometimes get caught up with labels. So I felt, I don't know anything about marketing, I'm just a lawyer, I've never studied this. Let me go and hire a marketing expert. And the truth is, it doesn't really, because what are we selling as law firms, as lawyers? We're selling knowledge. We're selling expert knowledge. So if you get a marketing expert that has no experience, in law firms, in the legal business, let's say a marketing expert that is responsible for the growth at Vodacom, and you bring him in, the chances are that you are not really going to get the results that you would want to get. So simply delegating promotional activities is one thing, but as lawyers in law firms, we as lawyers, as partners, are actually the heart of the marketing. We are the ones that are going to be defining the marketing strategy. So every lawyer inherently understands that firm profitability comes from delivering client value. But they have forgotten this in the midst of management practices. So obsession with leverage and utilization. So these things are no longer really relevant in a changing market. We have to find a new way of thinking. We need to think into what does the client want? What do the consumers want? And what do they want from a firm? They want a responsive firm. They want professionals that speak in terms and in simple terms and they show empathy. They want firms that understand their business and industry. They want firms that add value to what they do. They want firms that are reliable, that are flexible, firms that offer services which are of real benefit, quality work and service, firms that show an interest in them without always looking for fees, and regular and unprompted communication. What do we currently have with law firms? We have law firms that are basically very poor at leveraging essentially intellectual capital. Hourly billing that does not recognize value and creates a conflict of interest between the client and the firm. Too much focus on billable time and utilization rates. Associates that are trained in technical skills but not in management. Professionals with high IQ and little EQ, firm structure that inhibits cross-functional sharing of information, professionals with little formal business training, senior partners with high resistance to alternative ways of working, fixation on practice areas as opposed to client problems, focus on cross-selling without understanding client needs, and lack of understanding of marketing techniques such as research and segmentation. So what this points to is the need for culture change within the firm as a prerequisite to achieving a high performance. A market-oriented firm is one that understands clients, markets, and itself in order to coordinate information sharing across the firm that leads to client value that is very hard for other firms to copy. It is the soft systems of communication and tacit knowledge that will hold the key to success. But that key cannot open any doors until firm leaders are ready to adopt change seriously and on a firm-wide basis. This approach to strategy, market-driven, market-leading, marketing-led, is what creates true differentiation, not some superficial attempt to claim superiority in certain practice through traditional promotional and business development activities. So let me repeat that. Market orientation needs to be built as a culture. So you have customer orientation, competitor orientation, then you need intelligence generation and intelligence dissemination and intelligence responsiveness, and this creates organizational commitment, job satisfaction, esprit de corps, which is loyalty, and happier salespeople. How is marketing and business development, how are they different? There are very few accepted definitions of business development, but it is essentially sales. Business development is a much narrower concept than marketing, and indeed has much lower impact on firm performance when looked at in isolation. It is important to note that marketing and business development should be closely integrated, but it is marketing that creates the platform for client value, and it is the interaction of the professional and client dialogue that creates business. However, business development before marketing is essentially like shooting in the dark. You may hit sometimes, but nowhere near as much if you could see properly. Marketing allows you to see properly. Marketing is both a culture and a set of behaviors, and is the most significant orientation that affects firm performance. For example, we know that clients choose a law firm based on expertise and industry knowledge. And we know that clients leave firms due to poor responsiveness. Both these aspects of client value relate to the ability of the firm to leverage intellectual capital, and since knowledge is the product of a law firm, this process is the one that differentiates one firm from another. Marketing gives you the ability to leverage this intellectual capital in your sales conversations with clients, because it creates the firm culture whereby knowledge can be shared and utilized and learned. So how can a business development process or a rainmaker create a meaningful dialogue with a client without having the necessary knowledge in place? Do you know how this works? It doesn't. They cannot. Additionally, responsiveness is both individual but also firm-wide. A great rainmaker may be intuitively good at following up client requests and being proactive in mitigating problems. But if he or she does not have the information at hand they need to help the client, then responsiveness becomes a firm-wide issue. What firm culture or structure will ensure that the entire firm understands the need to share information across practices and indeed treat internal customers the same as external clients. These are hallmarks of high performance culture and marketing culture. So there's no doubt in my mind that 99.9% of lawyers do not understand marketing properly. Maybe I'm exaggerating, or maybe I'm being too harsh, but you get the drift. A very high percentage of lawyers do not understand marketing properly from the perspective of building marketing culture, as I have discussed above. These distinctions are very important because perceptions determines people's realities, and therefore they determine people's actions. So For example, in a very insightful piece of research by Ovind Helgesen and colleagues in the Marketing and Intelligence and Planning for the year 2009, the authors identified how perceptions of marketing and sales impact business performance. They found that 3 clusters of firms could be identified: those that focused on marketing alone, those that focused on sales alone, and those who did both, marketing and sales. Guess what? They found that from the 3 clusters, that the firm that was focusing on marketing and sales far outperformed those firms in the other clusters. Thank you. In other words, the relative perceptions that firms had of what they considered to be marketing or sales activities had a statistically significant impact on their firm's business performance. At the end of the day, no firm can survive over the long haul unless they deliver consistently high levels of client value. In the past, law firms have gotten away with less than stellar value delivery due to their monopoly in practicing law and the ever-growing demand and need for legal services in this complex business world. But this is changing. Clients are becoming more demanding. They're becoming more knowledgeable. How many of us have clients or prospective clients that walk through the door and say, I've done my research. I've done my research on this issue and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So clients now, and especially with internet, things are available. They conduct their own research, and they are extremely knowledgeable. But additionally, trends in the legal market including globalization, technology, means that law firms can no longer take their markets for granted. And it will be the firms which can adopt a marketing culture which will stand head and shoulders above the rest. So today, firms in Tanzania need to start looking into marketing and sales in a real way for all the above mentioned reasons. But also, we expect competition to increase significantly as we move to the Africa Free Continental Agreement, which not only will allow other countries that have ratified the treaty to come into Tanzania, but also allows us Tanzanians to go to other markets. How do we go to other markets? How do we scale? How do we grow without marketing and sales, and without putting marketing culture at the center of the strategy processes of a law firm? That's a question that I'm leaving all of you to think about, and that's all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne, for that wonderful presentation. I guess the next panel has a lot to do in terms of breaking down all the jargon that was used. And glad we have Chief of Happiness, subject matter expert in the panel.